let's make something delicious. Today, to make this chicken pot pie, we are going to start with 4 tablespoons of salted butter and 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And we are throwing in a small onion. I am using a red onion because that's what we grew here. And I'm using what we grew. And here we have about 1.5 cups of chopped carrot. We're getting all of our harder veggies in here first. Now, if you have some celery and you like celery in your pot pie, go ahead and throw in about 3 stalks of celery here. I don't have any celery today, and we have enough veggies going in, so we don't need celery. I like potatoes in my pot pie. You may or may not, but it just adds a totally different dimension to it. So I have probably about 1.5 pounds of small chopped potatoes. Now you want to stir that around, get everything coated in that butter and that olive oil because it's going to help everything fry up really well. Now, you also want to season things really well at this point. You want a few good pinches of salt. So you want to season things really well because potatoes suck up a lot of seasoning. I am going to add a good little sprinkle of granulated garlic. But that's up to your taste, how much you want. Because some of these things, you have to go with your own taste. I can't give you a measurement on how much of something. Because basically, you have to judge that for yourself. And what you like and what your family likes. Because thyme, not T-I-M-E, but T-H-Y-M-E. Thyme goes really good with chicken. So I've got about 3/4 teaspoon of dried thyme. Anytime you're using dried herbs, to open back up the oils and release them, you want to rub them between the palm of your hand. And see how it's falling into this pan? That's what you do, and it releases all the oils, and you get way more flavor out of it than just shaking it in out of the bottle. All of these veggies were grown here on our homestead. For those of you who may not know, we have another YouTube channel called Art of Creation Homestead. And we have the harvest of the carrots and the harvest of the potatoes. If you are interested in that, go check it out. Now we are going to let these cook on about medium to medium high heat until the potatoes are nice and tender and the carrots are nice and tender. You don't want them falling apart. You want them basically just fork tender because we're going to cook this just a little bit more once we start adding the stuff to make the gravy. So now our potatoes are just starting to get fork tender. Now we are going to add, this is 1/2 cup of flour, of all-purpose flour. We may or may not use it all. Depends on how much juice your veggies have released. So I'm going to dump in a little over half of that just to see where we're at. You want to stir it around, and it should make a nice paste around your veggies. You want to make sure you get all of the flour, make sure it's not dry, that it's making a paste instead of just being dry. Now as you can see, it's making a nice paste. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more, just to make sure it has enough thickening power for all the liquid we are adding to make the gravy. Because really, what is pot pie without the gravy? Now we are going to add 2 cups of chicken stock, but we are going to add it slowly. We're going to start with about 1/2 cup because otherwise it will be lumpy gravy. You don't want lumpy gravy. You don't want lumpy gravy in any form of gravy, but especially not in a pot pie. So now we will keep adding more as it absorbs it. And see, as you can see, it starts absorbing it and starts thickening really fast. Now you're already starting to get more creamy and more what you're looking for. So now we are going to add the rest of our stock, because now we're not in danger of it lumping anymore. So now we're going to stir this around and get it nice and mixed in and nice and thick. Now at this point, you're going to want to start scraping the bottom, especially if you've used a stainless steel pot like I have, because all that brown on the bottom is flavor. You want to get as much of that up as you can, because it's just going to add incredible flavor to your chicken pot pie. If you are using non-stick, you won't get that browning, so you'll miss out on a little bit of flavor. So at this point, we are going to turn our heat down on medium-low, because as you can tell, it's pretty much as thick as you want it. But the next ingredient we're adding, you don't want it to go in when it's too hot. We are going to add about a half a cup, roughly measured, of heavy cream. You can add milk if you don't have heavy cream in the house. You can add milk, but remember, milk will thin it out more than heavy cream will, because heavy cream is much thicker. Now you want to stir that in until it's all creamy and melted together. Now at this point, it should have taken up all of the brown bits off the bottom of your pan, which is just so much flavor going in here. Now at this point, one of my secret ingredients with pot pie is just about a tablespoon of sour cream. I know you're thinking it's crazy, but that tang of the sour cream, it's not enough to make things taste like a baked potato, but that tang is just amazing with it. It breaks up the richness of the gravy and of all the ingredients. It just breaks things up and makes things taste amazing. So at this point, you want to be sure and taste it, because at this point, this is where you will add the salt. If you feel like you need more salt, if you feel like you need more pepper, if you feel like you need more garlic powder, this is where you will add it. Okay, now at this point, we are going to add about a cup of frozen peas. If you don't like peas in your pot pie, don't add them. It's your tractor, whatever cranks it, it's up to you. Obviously, those are frozen peas. We did not grow those, but we did grow some peas. I'm just choosing to use frozen peas this time. Now, this is not a chicken pot pie without chicken. So this is some chicken that I use to make broth. You can also use a rotisserie chicken, or you can cook the chicken yourself earlier in the day. Now we're going to fold that in. And if things seem like they've tightened up too much, you can add a little bit more stock, or you can even just add some water. Like mine seems a little too tight at this point. I added just a little bit of water to mine, just to make the gravy a little looser. This will all depend on how much juice your veggies have released, so I can't really give you an exact amount. You'll just have to go by look and feel and how you like yours. If you like it thicker, then don't put in as much water or as much broth. If you like it looser, put in more. So now we are going to let this cook for about 5 minutes until everything gets nice and warm together. Now our filling is done, and I've put it in a 13x9 baking dish. Now for the crust, we are going to take an easy route today, and I am going to use 2 sheets of puff pastry. Now you want this still cold. You want it thawed according to package directions, but you want it still very cold. It's okay if it overlaps each other. It's okay if it overlaps on the sides of the dish. All of that's fine, because actually it just makes it better. You will find puff pastry in your freezer section. If you've never used it before, you will find it in your freezer section, and it's very important that it stays cold. You want to thaw it according to the package directions, but you want to make sure it stays cold until it goes in the oven, because it's layered with several layers of butter. You don't want that butter to start melting, or it won't puff. And part of the glory of puff pastry is that it will puff, and you will have a nice puffy topping on this, and it's going to be amazing. Now we need to make some little scores in it so that your filling can breathe and let out steam. It's so that it doesn't splatter out everywhere all around the sides. Now it may splatter up a little on top. Now we have 1 egg that we have added just a splash of water and beat it up till it's starting to foam. And now you're going to give a little egg wash on top. It'll help it get nice and brown. You want to do all of this quickly because you want to make sure that your puff pastry stays cold, even on top of that warm filling. So you want to act really quickly in this case. And you want to have your oven preheated to 425 because puff pastry needs a higher temperature. So once you get this all brushed, you're going to put this in your 425 degree preheated oven, and you are going to bake it until the puff pastry is nice and puffed, because you don't really have to worry about your filling. Your potatoes still need a little cooking, but they will cook during that time. You want to make sure that if you feel like the bottom of your pot pie is getting too much heat on it, that you will transfer it to the top rack. That way your puff pastry can get more heat than your filling. So now we are going to pop this into the oven, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. This beautiful pot pie is now out of the oven. When it first comes out, it will be up a little higher than this. It will deflate just a little bit, has cooler air hits it, but it won't deflate a ton. But it smells absolutely delicious. This baked between 30 and 35 minutes. To be oddly specific, mine baked for about 33 minutes. And now you better let this cool before you eat it. Otherwise you are going to burn your mouth really bad. Come back next time to Angela K's Kitchen, where I take you from gourmet to everyday and everything in between. God bless.
All right, got this beautiful bite here, and you better blow on it. It's been in the oven for a little while. Sheer perfection. So good. Everything you want and more. So delicious. Great topping. Great chicken, potatoes, vegetables. Perfect. Absolutely amazing. Angela K is an amazing cook.